Welcome to another edition of the RF Video Shoot interview series. Today we're joined by legendary wrestler Steve Lombardi, better known as the Brooklyn Brawler. Thanks for being here today with us.
Great to be here, man.
Now you're legitimately from Brooklyn. You were raised in Bensonhurst, right?
I was raised in Bensonhurst. I'm not going to give you the exact street names now because I don't want people going to my mother's house.
Yeah.
She still lives there.
Oh, wow. What are your memories of growing up in Brooklyn at the time?
Oh, I have great memories, man. It was a different time in Brooklyn. It was more or less controlled by organized crime, and certain people lived 4 and 5 doors away from me, which I'm not even going to say their names.
Right.
But I remember one time this one person came up to me, and you would know who he is. They're actually doing a movie about him right now, and he asked me to go get some cigarettes for him, and then I said, well, they won't sell them to me. He says, you tell them they're for me. And when I said his name to the person, I was 14 years old. They gave me a whole carton. He said, you tell him it's on the house. Then me, I'm like a 15-year-old kid. I'm walking into a social club. I go up to him, the biggest boss of them all. And I say, they told me it's on the house. He gives me $5. He goes, you did good, kid.
Wow.
And my mom got mad because I won the house, and I said, that's what I want to do.
Oh, you wanted to get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bad business, but...
And you kind of figure out who it was, too, right?
Right. I have an idea.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how Brooklyn has changed and become a haven now for hipsters?
Has it become a haven for hipsters?
A lot of the pop culture guys have.
I see a lot of Chinese and Russian coming in. It used to be basically an Italian neighborhood, and I could say my whole block was Italian. Now that I go to my mom's house, it's the same house I grew up in, and it's all Chinese and Russian.
Wow.
It's just changed.
Did you prefer the old gritty days, or do you like Brooklyn now?
I like the old gritty days.
Yeah.
When you get a parking space in front of the house.
Right, now it's...
You can't get a spot now.
What age were you when you first discovered professional wrestling?
Well, me and my brothers, we used to always look at wrestling magazines. I was probably like 14 or 15 years old. We used to see Bruno Sammartino, Superstar Billy Graham, the Valiant Brothers, Chief Jay Strongbow. I never thought in a million years that I would wrestle every one of those guys later at the end of their careers.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Did you go to the Garden?
I went to the Garden. Oh, no, my first wrestling match ever was at the Garden.
Who took you? Did you go by yourself or your family?
No, I was like 17, 18, and some buddy of mine gave me some wrestling tickets, and he goes, hey, I'm not going to use these tickets. You want these tickets? And then I go to the Garden, and we're hanging out. We're drinking a bunch of beers in the Garden. We get a buzz on. We're feeling great. This guy next to me goes, hey, these wrestlers, they go hang out at the Savoy. He says, it's about 4 blocks from here. After the show, you want to meet these guys, you go to the Savoy, and you can meet them, you can talk to them. I mean, they're great guys. I go to my friends, let's do it, man. Let's go to the Savoy. So we're walking, because we took the train. So we start walking towards the Savoy. I see from a distance, I go, there's a guy standing outside the door taking a piss. I guess when I get closer, it's King Kong Mosca. I said, holy shit, it's like I'm walking into Animal House here.
Right.
Like, he didn't even care who was looking at him. He's just taking a piss in front of everybody. And I said, I didn't care because I was crazy back then anyway. I walked in there, started going, I went up to Mr. Fuji. I said, Mr. Fuji, this is my first wrestling match. Can't you see we're talking? You know what I mean? They blew me off. They blew me off. So I started going to wrestling matches every single month because the Garden was running like every month.
Right.
So then after a while, I go, wrestling match, Savoy. Then before you know it, I got to know the guys. Then they got a first name basis with the guys. And then one day, Arnold Skolin, out of all the guys, goes, hey kid, I heard you want to be a wrestler. I don't know if Arnold Skolin took an interest in me or he was just the most drunk there. You know, but he goes, show up in Shirley, Long Island. He goes, but come early. So I said, yeah, fuck yeah. I go to Shirley, Long Island. Me and my buddy, we would drive up there. I go there, we're early, all the wrestlers are just pulling up. He goes, Saito, take the kid in the ring. Mr. Saito, remember him?
Yeah, of course.
He takes me, he gives me a belly-to-belly, suplexes me. Then he goes to me, he goes to all the boys. Snook is watching, Ray Stevens is watching. Everybody's around the rings. They're all watching. He turns around and he goes, heavy. And I thought, wow, yeah, I've been working out, man. It's heavy. I thought it was a good thing, but anybody who knows wrestling, that's a bad thing.
You sandbagged him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I didn't on purpose.
Right, you didn't know.
I was never been in the ring before.
Right.
I said, it's the same for me, man, because my ribs were killing me and shit, and then I just kept going back. It was like I got hooked on it. Just kept going back.
Who was your favorite guy growing up watching?
I like Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno? Okay.
I actually got to wrestle Bruno Sammartino, too.
Yeah, you mentioned that Bruno Sammartino was your favorite wrestler growing up. In your opinion, who was the greatest WWF champion in that era?
Well, Bob Backlund was pretty over. I mean, when he came out in that red, white, and blue jacket, and I was kind of like, I believed in him because I was still not smart to the business.
Right.
So to me, it was just like, wow, he's a real athlete. Nobody can beat this guy. And my favorite of all time ever, Adrian Adonis.
Great worker for him.
He was great, man. And then when they put him with Murdoch, what a tag team. Then I got to wrestle both of those guys.
Wow.
I wrestled everyone.
Explain to the fans who are younger how important the shows at MSG were in that era.
Anybody that didn't experience MSG and wrestling has not been to a true wrestling match. And MSG was like the mecca, the greatest arena that you could ever wrestle in front of. And everybody always dreamed about wrestling in Madison Square Garden. But not many got to do it 100 times.
Now, you studied biochemistry before getting into the business. Talk about your background there.
How did you find that out?
I know everything.
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I went to St. Bernadette Elementary School. And then from there, I went to New Utrecht High School, which they use the exteriors for Welcome Back, Kotter.
Right.
So I'm a legitimate sweat hog. And I was a kid across the street drinking quarts of beer, you know what I mean? I never liked school. I hated school. But I passed. It was always easy for me, but I wasn't crazy about it. So then I go to St. Francis College downtown, and I'm going to be a medical technologist. You know why? I'm watching Quincy. I like the Chinese guy, you know, all the shit he's doing with the autopsy.
Right.
I don't know. My life is just like weird that way. I see the guy on TV, that's what I want to do for a living. So now I'm doing biochemistry, organic chemistry. I'm hating every bit of it. That's when the Madison Square Garden came up.
Now, when you got friendly with the boys from going to the hotel, and you got friendly with Arnold Skolin and Mr. Saito, and they got you in the ring, did they try to stretch you at all, or you know?
No. They just try to, just a belly to belly. If you never took one, that would hurt you.
Yeah.
Because you're not used to it. Your body gets accustomed to the moves. So I don't think they deliberately tried to hurt me.
What insight can you give into Arnold Skolin as a person beyond what the fans saw on camera? What was he like as a person outside the ring?
Oh my God. Arnold Skolin loved booze. He loved his Crown Royal. Arnold Skolin is the only guy that I ever known in my whole life that would, everything was a cash business. So like if the house was 200 grand, he'd have 200 grand in his briefcase. And when Arnold Skolin got to the hotel, the briefcase would go under the bed and he'd go to the bar.
That's crazy.
And he knew, and everybody knew it. And I'm saying to myself, you're setting yourself up. I'm from Brooklyn, man. I'm streetwise. I said, you're setting yourself up. Somebody's going to get you. Somebody's going to get you. Nobody ever did. But Arnie was a funny guy, man. He was just, he loved eating. He loved like Italian restaurants. He loved this whiskey. He was a real hard-nosed, a real, hey kid, what are you doing there, kid? You know, he had that kind of graspy voice. But I like him. I see his wife occasionally. She's a real nice lady.
So do you credit Arnold and Saito as far as being your trainers? Would they be your mentors?
No, I don't. I credit myself. I credit myself because I hung around and I never gave up. And when I started showing up, then they told me, show up at Allentown and Reading. And every time you come to Allentown and Reading, at least you'll make I think it was $50. And I'm wrestling Piper 1 hour, I'm wrestling Sheik another hour, I'm wrestling another guy another hour, and then Hogan comes in.
So this is before 83, 84, right?
Oh,
right around.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So how long were you training before you actually got your first ring experience, your first match on TV?
Well, all I did was about 6 months of judo.
Right.
And then I was all muscled up, so they put me in there with 7th-degree black belts, and I was like tying them up and holding them down, and the judo teacher was looking at me. And then one day I bring a wrestling magazine, and I showed a 7th-degree black belt teacher a wrestling magazine with a guy in an abdominal stretch. Then he shook his head and he was just like, I think you better go back to the people that you know. Because he knew that wasn't a legitimate hold.
Was it hard for you to get the trust of the locker room, being a fan, and then getting into the business that way?
No, but I never really was a fan. When I first got in there and I started going to the Savoy, to the bar, it wasn't long after that I was in the ring with these guys. So I didn't. I never had a problem. I never had a problem with a rapport with the boys. I always got along with all the boys.
Did anybody take you under the wing and try to smarten you up?
Hogan took me under his wing for a couple of years, and he, I don't know if you want to call it smartening up, you know, living his lifestyle. Like when he came in the dressing room, when he first came in the first day, I saw marking out for him because he came off for Rocky 3, and I'm saying, hey man, Red, you're unbelievable, you're larger than life, you're this, you're that. He goes, bro, stop marking out on me. And he goes to Vince McMahon and says, I want Lombardi with me everywhere. Now, I'm the young kid in the dressing room. Now I'm in Lear jets, limousines. We're doing the Love Boat. We're like movie stars.
Any jealousy from the rest of the locker room? Because
he told me, he goes, brother, when I do this for you, brother, you're gonna be with me. Everybody's gonna hate you. He goes, all the top guys are in the back of the plane. You're in first class with me. Yeah, well, it wasn't good. Well, it was good because the money was good. The money got better, but I don't know if it was healthy. Well, he didn't teach me a little thing called taxes.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm making all this money. And
now, before Hogan comes in, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Talk about how the WWW office was run at that point. Vince Sr. was the owner. Who's calling you for the who's calling you for the bookings around this point in time? Was it Arnold just telling you?
No, Vince's father was just getting out of the picture.
Okay.
Who I did meet him. He was a really nice guy. Completely conservative guy. Respected all the territories. He always kept like about 6 or 7 quarters in his hand. He would always flicker them up and down. And then Vince took over. What they would do is they would just give you a sheet of paper, and it would just say like Hazleton, Scranton, and the date.
Gotcha.
And then you would be on those towns.
Okay. Compare how a locker room at a show was run then compared to today's WWE, and in which way, in your mind, works better.
Okay, let's use, for an example, a battle royal. In my day, way back then, they would say you're 1, you're 2, you're 3, you're 4, you're 5. Now they would say, okay, the first guy goes for a clothesline, he ducks it. Okay, he does this, and then the other guy comes in, and then he accidentally almost goes out. I think it was better back then.
You like calling it in the ring?
It's not calling it in the ring. Just remember the guy before you that goes out. Why do we need to do certain moves? Because it's not going to work out anyway.
You got to listen to the fans and see what they want too, right?
Yeah.
Favorite memories of Gorilla Monsoon?
Oh, great guy. Gorilla Monsoon was a good guy. He very respected in Vegas, and he actually wanted to be my best man when I got married. He wanted to come to Vegas, but I never did it. I just jumped on a plane. But he, very classy guy. Very classy guy, very respected in the business. When I look at his old matches, they're not exactly textbook matches.
Right.
But he was a good guy.
Memories of working Sweet Hansen?
I never worked with Sweet Hansen.
You never worked
That's
with
one
Sweet?
guy. I met him many times. Actually met him at the last Hall of Fame. Good guy.
No, not Stan Hansen. I'm talking about Sweet Hansen.
Oh, Sweet Hansen. I
Sweet
forgot
Hansen.
Sweet
Yeah.
Hansen. I wrestled him. He was just
definitely.
like kick and punch.
Right.
It was just, oh yeah, Sweet. I forgot all about him. He's dead now, right?
Yeah, he passed away.
No.
Talk about the importance of a preliminary wrestler in those days in terms of building up the card.
Preliminary wrestlers are a lot more important than people think. They say, oh, enhancement guy, jobber, this and that. Without the enhancement guy, you don't have the top guy. The enhancement guy enhances the top guy. And like I said before, I said, Razor knew that I knew this. When all these new guys came in, everybody would get scared. Oh, they're going to take my spot. They're going to take my spot. I knew there was more guys for me to put over. You know what I mean? To make them look good. Then they put me in there with these bodybuilders. They look like robots no matter what they do. I tell them to push me off. It looks bad. You know? But then you get these guys that can do a bunch of stuff like Brady Boone and remember him?
Yeah, Brady Boone. Yeah, the cat gimmick.
Oh yeah, he says, "Oh, you just throw me in. I'll do a double flip. I'll do this. I'll go to the top. You come behind me. You do this." When a guy can do a lot of stuff, I'll be there for him.
Right. Why do you think the art has been lost today, as far as like using preliminary guys? And do you think it ever could come back?
I don't know if it will ever come back for them to use preliminary guys again. I think it should. I think once we had the wars between Nitro and Raw, I think somebody didn't tell somebody that the wars are over, and all we're doing is competing against each other. What we used to do is a main eventer wrestles enhancement guy, and main eventer wrestles main eventer on the pay-per-view. Now it's like every show is a main event. Every show is a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Every Raw, a top guy wrestles a top guy. It was never like that.
You like it better now, or you like it back old school?
Oh, old school.
Of course.
Old school.
You made your TV debut October 29th, I believe, 83 against the Iron Sheik. Memories of working on TV the very first time?
Well, actually, that's not accurate. I wrestled Ivan Koloff for my first TV match, and it was crazy. Sheik was the first one that stretched me. But Ivan Koloff, I just talked to him about 2 or 3 weeks ago at an autograph session, and he, I'll never forget, he did that thing where he went to the top and he put his knee in my back with my back facing him, and he came straight down on my back, and it was great because for the first time in my life, in the streets of Brooklyn, people would ask me for my autograph. Oh my God, you were on TV. It didn't matter if you were an enhancement guy or a top guy.
What about the Iron Sheik? You have to have some great Sheik stories.
Oh my God, the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik was too much. He walk into restaurants. I travel with him quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
He walk into a restaurant and he goes to the waitress. He goes, "Do you know who I am? I am Tallest bodyguard. I win gold medal. You give me free beer and food. I can't do that, sir. I'm not the owner. I can't do that. You fucking whore. I mean, it was like that. It was like that. It was hysterical back then. Today they would call the cops and they would take him out.
Right.
But I'm telling you, man, it actually happened.
I believe you. I've eaten with him before and seen it firsthand. You've had a chance to work with some incredible wealth of talent in the 80s. Was there anyone that you really learned from most in the 80s when it comes to conducting yourself in the locker room or learning in the ring?
I think Bret Hart was a good guy to learn from, because when he first came in, he was like a complete opposite from what Vince was using. You know what I mean? Baseball hat on backwards and looked like a normal kid. He wasn't muscled up. He wasn't this, but he was technically sound.
Yeah.
He was quiet. He told me, always read a book. Don't ever get involved with the conversations. I'm not a reader. I'm not into that. But he was always trying to tell me stuff like that.
Some early memories of Bruno, Pedro, or even Bob Backlund. They were the three major WWF kingpins prior to the Hogan era. How do you compare them in the ring and how they conducted themselves?
Pedro had a hot temper. Pedro was when he threw you in for that gut shot where he slapped you in the stomach. That was a real deal, man. He would nail you.
Right.
If something didn't go well, Pedro would come in the back. He'd take a chair, throw it against the wall. Bob Backlund's memories. You'd walk in the dressing room, he'd be hanging upside down in the stall in the bathroom with the gravity boots. He was very into the step test. And who's the last one?
Bruno.
Oh, Bruno was just. I met Bruno when he came in later. I wasn't actively wrestling when Bruno was here. I came in when Bruno started doing commentation with Vince.
Right.
And then Vince wanted them to have one more match, and he said he would if he had it with me. And he still tells that story to this day. He says, because he watched me and the way I take care of people and the way I was working with people, he goes, I'll work again if I work with Lombardi, and actually Danny Davis as Mr. X. So it was David and Bruno against me and Danny.
Who was the most important out of the three when it came to business?
As far as what?
The business as a whole. Who do you think who did the best?
Smartest?
Yeah.
Out of Pedro, Bob Backlund, and Bruno, I would say Bruno had the biggest name of them all in the North. As far as smart, I don't know what they do with their money, so I don't know. I'm sure they all did well. Bob Backlund, he said he never bought furniture for his house.
I can believe it.
He bought an oil truck. Bob Backlund's a guy that you could put him on a desert island, he'll make money.
He goes to the local Y to take showers to save money on his water bill.
Oh yeah,
That's true.
And Pedro, I heard he was doing something with a school. Or
He's sick now, so.
What's wrong with him?
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but he's doing pretty bad.
Really?
His health is.
He's got to be in his 80s, right?
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah.
He's up there. What was the locker room reaction when Vince Sr. Vince Sr. was going to step down and Vince Jr. was going to take over the company?
Well, Vince Sr. got sick,
Yeah.
and then Vince Jr. Vince Sr. was very high on Andre the Giant. He would have never liked the Hogan thing, you know what I mean? But Vince was high on Hogan. He seen the future. I mean, Andre was a novelty, but not to be a regular every single day.
Yeah, coming into the territory and then leave and.
Yeah, Andre loved me. He actually had me drive him around and all that stuff. And
you can tell some Andre stories.
Well, an Andre story once was I called my mom. I used to pick up Andre on 47th Street. We used to stay at the Ramada, and I used to drive him up to Poughkeepsie. And Andre do whatever I asked him to do. I said, Andre, can we go to this restaurant? We go here, we go there. I said, Andre, do me one favor. Come and meet my mother. So I called my mother up. I go, I got this young kid, this new wrestler. He just started. I want to bring him by. I want to bring him by the house. She goes, oh, okay, that's nice. And I bring Andre to my mom's house. And he was like so happy. He was hugging her.
Right.
You know.
Compare, I guess, Vince and Vince Sr. On the immediate changes you and the other guys noticed right away. How would you compare them?
I would say Vince Sr. had cared about the territories, cared about the little territories, which I think is a good thing because they develop talent. And Vince Jr., he just went in everybody's backyard. You know what I mean? Just open up everyone, put everybody out of business. But then he opens a performance center, and he's trying to do what the territories were doing. And I think the territories were doing it better. Because you can't take a football player, put him in a top scale environment like the performance center, and turn him into one of us. It doesn't work that way.
They need to work
The territories bring the people that really love it.
Yeah.
And it's a dead thing.
Nobody really has a passion for the business anymore. They're in it just for the money.
No, it's true.
What are your memories of how everyone reacted to WWF going national and starting to pretty much run other markets, the base out of,
I think when I seen Saturday Night Main Event for the first time, I think it was in St. Louis, and then that was the first national thing, and I think everybody was pretty excited because it was just a Northeast territory. We would just go like from Rochester, Buffalo, all the way to Maryland. It was really close. Nobody ever flew. My first plane ticket was to Pittsburgh, and I thought I was going around the world.
Do you remember your debut at MSG, by the way?
Yes.
Was it Mad Dog?
Mad Dog Vachon.
What are your memories of that match? And how important was that to you personally?
My memories of Mad Dog Vachon in my first match in Madison Square Garden was getting hit in the head with a metal chair about 5 times, and him doing that thing where you pull your cheek like that, but you're really ripping my mouth. I mean, he was just rough. He was just a rough. He was everything that you should not do in wrestling as far as.
He didn't take care of you?
It's not that he didn't take care of me. I don't think he took care of anyone. I think he just was a tough son of a gun.
Right. Now, you lost that match, but I think a month later you beat him at the Nassau Coliseum. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Okay. Somebody had said that. I didn't know how true that was. Memories of Sergeant Slaughter?
Sergeant Slaughter, great guy. First guy I ever did a sunset flip on. Always a great worker. I used to admire that thing he did where he throw him to the corner and then he hits his head on the post. He goes over the turnbuckle, hits his head on the post. I actually copied it for a while and did it for a while. Slaughter was still a good guy. I still see him occasionally.
Big John Studd? Memories of Big John?
Big John, I was in matches with him where they put three in the ring and he squashed all 3 of us. He threw us in the corner and then smashed us. John Studd was not a personable guy. He wasn't a guy that you would sit down and shoot the shit with.
Dr. D, David Schultz.
Ooh. Dr. D, David Schultz was just seen him about a month ago too. He was one tough son of a gun. He was legitimately a bounty hunter. He was rough in the ring.
Paul Orndorff.
Loved working with Paul. Paul was like textbook perfect in the ring. Everything he did, but he didn't hurt you. Even that pile driver where he jumped up and he came down on you, never hurt you.
Iron Mike Sharp.
Oh, he was a gimmick. One time I was in the Philadelphia Spectrum and I had Mike Sharp, and you know how he is. Wait a minute, I'm not ready. Isn't that? We go to lock up, we headbutt. He gets juice. Please, I get nothing. So we just go to lock up, we hit heads. It looked like I killed him.
Right.
And he just went, oh, wait a minute, I can't believe this happened. I was in the dressing room for hours and hours. And he was always the guy that would be in the shower for 2 hours. He'd put deodorant on, he'd wipe it off. He'd put deodorant on, he'd wipe it off. And then there was even a story one time.
Everyone tells the same story about Mike being in the shower and everyone's
Yeah, but they tell the story where he's the last to leave and they let the dogs loose in the building, the security dogs.
No.
Yeah, that's one of the stories.
Oh. What about Rocky Johnson?
Rocky Johnson's okay. I don't know how the hell he produced Rock.
Right.
But
Two different animals.
Yeah, 2 different animals.
Now, I believe it was the very first Championship Wrestling TV taping in Poughkeepsie. WWF does an angle where you lose to Kamala, but afterward Hogan comes out and shows you respect. This never really went anywhere beyond that moment. Why did that happen? And why did it?
I kind of remember that, but I don't remember too well. I remember standing in the ring with Hogan, and Kamala was mistreating me. Is that what was happening?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know. You can't ask why in wrestling because everything changes like the wind.
I think you were working as yourself against Kamala.
And then Hogan saved me or something.
Yeah.
I remember it, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, It was a long time ago. Thoughts on Hulk as a person and a performer? Obviously, you were close to him. Great
person, Hogan. I don't have a bad word to say about Hogan. Always a great person. Always proud to be with him. Love to walk into places with him. And I stood at his house. His wife made us meals, sent us with coolers out of the house, and he's a unique individual, man. He was a great guy. I just love Hogan. Everything about him. He was like a cartoon character. He was like larger than life. He was on the front cover of the Sports Illustrated, the most recognizable sports entertainer in the world.
Why do you think he took off as such a massive superstar?
I think it was his look, and that Rocky movie helped him.
Now, one of his biggest foes in the business, and probably did a lot of business for the company as a whole, was Roddy Piper. What are your memories about Hot Rod?
Oh, I love Roddy. Roddy Piper. Do you remember the Piper story?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm in Texas with Roddy Piper. We're driving down the road. He goes, let's stop at that bar right there. He goes, I want to get a drink. There's about 100 Harley Davidsons parked right in the front. I go, Roddy, we can't go in there because the first thing they're going to do is they're going to look at us and they're going to want to fight us. So because it's a rowdy place, he goes, now we are going in,
Right.
So we go in the bar. Everybody turns. Music stops. I always reference that scene in Animal House when they walk in the bar and everything stops.
Right.
It was kind of like that. Roddy walks up to the bar. He orders 2 shots of Jack Daniels. And this big guy, 300-pound biker with leather cap, the whole deal. He looked like the big boss. Goes up to Roddy's drink, picks it up, puts it in his mouth. He goggles and he spits it back, puts it back on the bar. Looks at Roddy right in the face. Roddy picks up the glass and goes, "Glad to know you." And then when he did that, everybody laughed. Drinks were flying. He disengaged the entire problem. It wasn't even a problem. Roddy couldn't care less. He would have loved to have a fight.
Did you ever have any? Did you ever witness any heat between him and Hogan for the top spot?
No, because nobody could touch Roddy on the mic.
Yeah, best talker in the business.
Yeah.
As the company starts to expand nationally, are you offered a contract at this point?
No contracts then.
Okay. They're doing about 2 to 3 shows a night and an insane schedule. At what point did you know that you had a full-time gig with the company?
You never do know. You never do know if you have a full-time gig. You could work 4 weeks in a row and then not get bookings for 2 weeks, and then if you get hurt, forget it.
Walk us through how rough the schedule was from a touring standpoint.
Oh my God. We were working like 17 days in a row, and then 3 days off, then 4 days in a row, then 3 days off, then 17 in a row, and then 3 days off. It was rough.
What was the worst schedule that you could remember undertaking?
Oh my God, doing like a 17-dayer and then jumping on a plane and going to Australia or New Zealand and being out there for like a week and a half.
Did you ever crack?
No, I never was a cracker. Yeah, I was always the guy to do everything he was supposed to do. And
going back to Hogan, did you consider him one of the boys, or was he different? Did he have his
no, he did not have his own
locker room?
He might have had his own locker room, but he very rarely. He was one of the boys. He always wanted to be one of the boys. He never wanted to be the prima donna type wrestler.
Was he approachable to other talent?
Definitely.
Okay. Memories of George Scott during his time of booking?
George Scott, when he came in, George Scott died too, didn't he?
No, I think, yeah, I think he did.
I remember when George Scott first came in, he loved Ric Flair. He wasn't high on Hogan. He wanted to get rid of Hogan to bring Flair in. It wasn't going to work.
Right.
I mean, I love Flair to death. Flair's great. I even told Flair that. I says, when George Scott came in, he wanted to bring you in. He goes, I know. But it wouldn't have been the same impact. I don't think it would have been.
How did the NBC deal change how WWF did business? Obviously, they got hooked up with NBC. They did Saturday Night's Main Events. And
yeah, what's that guy's name?
I know exactly who. It's on the edge of my tongue.
Yeah, he was in a plane crash. And,
yeah. I forgot.
Oh, yeah, I know. I think the whole NBC thing was great because they would get like one shot a year or something like that in Saturday Night Live spot.
Yes.
And who doesn't want to be in business with NBC?
How does Vince change as the company became bigger and had more success?
It's like there was lightning in his veins. It's like he became like, I want this. I remember the first day he says, we got to go live. There's nothing like live. So all the guys from Memphis, they were like, so what? All of us were like, no.
Right.
Because we know if we screw something up, you know what I mean? It stays. But the guys in Memphis always worked live.
Was Vince approachable to you at all, or did you not really have any dealings with him early on?
Early on,
yeah.
I didn't have much dealings with him.
Okay. Memories working with Terry Garvin and Pat Patterson?
They were always there, always respected by Vince. Nothing to...
What made Pat Patterson so talented at finishes?
He just had a natural instinct about not giving the people what they expect. Always swerving people at the end.
Memories of J.J. Dillon?
J.J. Dillon was a very conservative kind of guy. Wasn't really... You would never think he was a wrestling person because all he was, to me, what he was he was a wrestling person with the Four Horsemen and all that stuff, but he was more of an office guy. Would do paperwork and stuff like that.
Back in the 80s, as a wrestler, everyone wants to be world champion. So were you happy with your role, or did you want to be used more?
No, because I knew I had longevity.
You knew your spot.
I knew my spot. I knew longevity. I knew it didn't matter. I mean, if it was not predetermined, it might have bothered me.
You weren't like one of the guys that would go to the office and say, "Hey, try to push yourself to management."
I did a few things. I came up with that Abe Knuckleball Schwartz gimmick, and I approached it to Vince, and he liked it, and it didn't last. And I did Doink for a while, and I did Kimchi with Kamala for a while. But,
Right.
But the only one I went to Vince with was the Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Okay. What was the proper way to conduct yourself in the locker room during that time period to keep you from getting any heat? Just pretty much stay to yourself?
Yeah, just stay to yourself and let people lock your bags up in the rafters, and people ribbing was on.
Who was the king of the ribs, Henning or Fuji?
God. No, I would say Marty Jannetty, Davey Boy, Henning, Owen Hart, master at ribs.
Right.
And some serious ribs.
Any ribs that stick out?
Yeah, well, one of the ribs, like I told in the podcast, I was telling about the rats. And
Ring rats? No.
No. The rats that they fed to Jake Snake.
Yes.
They used to carry them around in the fish tank and all this, and I didn't even do it. I told Marty to see. I see all these guys all the time. I said, Marty, I just put you in this podcast. I said, remember the thing with the rats? He goes, yeah, man. He goes, you did it too. I said, I didn't do it. I said, I was in the room with you, and I got the heat for it. He turned it over, and the rats scattered all over the building, and then the company got like a $16,000 extermination fee.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, but the boys, like the Chief Jay Strongwell used to say, the inmates run the asylum. They don't now.
I was going to say that.
They don't now.
Memories of some of the other preliminary talents from the 80s era. And do you think that any of these guys should have been given a stronger push, like Paul Roma?
Paul Roma got a little bit of a push with Hercules.
Yeah.
And,
Power and Glory.
Yeah. Barry Horowitz, they gave him a little push with, what's the name? Candido.
Yep.
And
what about like guys like S.D. Jones, Terry Gibbs?
Well, Terry Gibbs didn't last very long. He wound up quitting to go to US Air in Pittsburgh. S.D. Jones, believe it or not, when I was young in the business, I looked at S.D. Jones the same way I looked at Pedro Morales, like he was one of the guys.
Yeah. And you always thought, if you watch him on TV, you always thought he had a chance too.
Yeah.
George Wells.
Oh my God, George Wells. Is he still alive?
No, I don't think so. I think he passed away, yeah.
Yeah, George Wells was a good athlete.
Steve Yaffe.
Steve Yaffe, oh my God. Steve Yaffe, I always say, he's the only Samoan that can't work. I always say that to all the Samoans.
Jimmy Powers?
Jim Powers, I used to wrestle him a lot. I used to like working with Paul better than Powers. See, I don't want to, not to get all hear this shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't want to.
I hear you. Lenny Poffo.
A good guy, I still see him. I just seen him about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Now, a lot of people talk about you being used as a measuring stick. You know, Vince would put guys in the ring with you to see if they could go. When a guy would come into the territory for the first time, they would say, put him with Steve Lombardi. What are your memories of working with Ultimate Warrior in his WWF debut?
Ultimate Warrior, I love Jim. Ultimate Warrior was green as grass. I mean, he would run to the ring full speed. He'd be blown up when he got in the ring.
Right.
But he had muscles coming out of his muscles. He would shake the ropes. If you knew how to do it, and I figured out how to do it, you could get the guy over. He comes in the ring, let him get his breath, stay away from him. So as soon as he gets his win, do a push off with him, start pounding him on the back, let him do his shake of the rope thing, you know what I mean? And then he used to pick me up, and then he used to drop me and then do a splash on my back. And I wrestled him like 47 times in a row. And when he came to the Hall of Fame, he started crying when he seen me. I walked into his dressing room. I said, Jim, he goes, I was just thinking about you. He goes, oh my God, you're the only one who didn't knock me in a DVD. He goes, and all the abuse I gave you, he goes, you never said nothing. He says, you took every bit of it. He goes, you were great. And he goes, and I'm going to tell that one thing that you did. One thing that you did, I'm going to bring it up, so you better be prepared to stand up at the Hall of Fame. And the thing was, they told me they're going to tell Jim to do a job for me to test his attitude. And I told Jim, shut your mouth, just do it, because they're testing your attitude.
Did he do it?
He did it. And I brought that up with his wife, and I talked to his wife about it. And I told her that would be our secret forever, but then I put it out on the podcast, and I put it out on this now. But I don't care. Because like I said to Jericho, did I do the right thing or did I do the wrong thing? And Jericho says, you obviously did the right thing. He became a big star.
Yeah.
He goes, if he didn't want to do it for you, then maybe they wouldn't have pushed him. And
you helped him.
Yeah. I don't know if I helped him or hurt him, but he would have got there anyway. I don't know.
Yeah,
Nobody knows.
yeah.
Nobody knows. But I told him, you can't say this on the stage at the Hall of Fame because I'm presently working for the company, and the company's going to say, oh, we can't let Lombardi do anything because he's going to tell the person, you know.
Right.
That's the way I was looking at it.
What do you think about his untimely passing, like a couple days
Oh
later?
my God. I got a picture of me and him the day before he died.
It's horrible.
It was horrible.
Do you think it was the excitement and all the stress from that weekend that led to that?
Possibly. I mean, he was holding all this in, bottled in for years and years and years, and he finally comes, and I don't know if he truly forgave everyone. You know what I mean? Even though I don't know if there was any merit to his forgiveness. I don't think they did anything to him.
Right.
I don't know all the what actually happened between him and Vince and all that stuff. But I know he made a lot of money, and it was freaky because the Raw before he died, it was after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Did you hear that speech?
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
When my heart stops beating, my legacy will live on forever.
It was like he knew.
Yeah, it's almost like 2 days he predicted his death.
I wonder if he knew that he was sick and just didn't tell his family.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I tell you one thing, when he hugged me, he was all skin and bones.
You actually got to work a little bit of a series with Paul Roma. Were you surprised that I guess he cracked the top tire?
Paul Roma?
Yeah.
Paul Roma was always a great wrestler. I mean, he was a great mechanic. He could do things other people couldn't do, but he always had this. I don't know. He was just more like Jim Powers was more humble than Roma. Roma was more like, I'm it.
Talk about going to Australia for the very first time.
Oh, that was cool. I did Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and Sydney in 4 days. And the funny part about that is, like 26 years later, Hugh Jackman comes to the show.
I was going to ask you about that. Yep.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman comes up to the show, and he's going to guest host for that movie with the robots. I forget what it was. Robot. You remember that one?
Yes.
So he comes up to me. He goes, "You're the only guy that I recognize in this building. I don't even know who Senna is." He said he called Cena Senna. He goes, "Do you mind if I take a picture with you and tweet it out?"
Wow.
I says, "Man, I'm supposed to be asking you this."
Right.
So he takes a picture of me and he tweets it out, and then he does an interview with the company. And he goes, "In 1984, he goes in Sydney, Australia." And he named the name of the building. He goes, I went to the wrestling matches with my dad. I wasn't even an actor, and I watched the Brooklyn Brawler wrestle, and I remember him from then. And I remember him today. Now, the only difference is that he had a beard then. He don't have a beard now, and ever since then he came back again, and he took a picture with me again, and for some reason he just respected that.
Who came up with the idea of you working with Kimchi?
The office just called.
They just need somebody to put on the
they just
road.
needed a body and a driver.
What was Kamala like outside the ring?
Complain, always. I don't know. I usually just say, "James, your sugar. Keep an eye on your sugar," and he used to go, "It don't went away. It just went away. My diabetes just went away." I was always on him for that, and then he got real bitter later on, and then his author just called me up. What the hell is his name? The one who wrote his book, Casanova or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Whatever it is. He calls me up and goes, "James just wants you to know that everything he ever said about you was all a rib. It was all a joke, and he did it all in good faith." And he says, "You mind if I write your book?" I said, "No, you can't write my book. I'm not going to have you write my book."
Right.
I said, "If anything, I don't want you on the show with me." And he goes, "No, I'm telling you, don't hold it against me." I said, "Kamala said in his book that I took care of all his money. I made more money than him, and I paid him." I mean, that's a
Right. That makes no sense.
No.
I was actually going to ask you about payoffs because I did an interview with Kamala, and he was talking about he found out somehow he went into the office and got to see receipts of the payoffs when he was working with Hogan, and how he was really upset with Hogan making more money than him.
Oh, please. All I remember was him showing me every single check he got. "Kimchi, my check's a little down, $22,000 this week." And he used to call me up. He used to go, "I'm lighting a cigar with a $100 bill now." I said, "James, I only made $2,200 this week." He goes, "Oh, come on now, Kimchi." I said, "I worked twice."
Right.
He goes, "You can't expect it." No, he made a fortune.
Did you get bigger payoffs when you were working on top with Hawk, or was your pay pretty much based the same?
When I was working, I wasn't working. Oh, you mean when Kamala was working with Hogan? Whenever when you were on a Hulk Town, you would get more money.
Remember working with King Curtis Who was managing
Curtis.
as the Wizard?
Oh my God, he was a character. Yeah, I went to Hawaii and I ruined my whole vacation trying to hook up with him. You know what I mean? Oh man, he wore the same, like, I don't know what you call it, like a dress.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. He goes to Hogan one day. He goes, "Big man, I want to take the big clothesline tonight. I want to take the big clothesline." He goes, "No, Curtis, I don't want to hurt you, man. I don't want to do this." He goes, "You throw me in, I'm going to take the big clothesline." Hogan throws him in, and right before Hogan does it, he throws himself on the ground. I mean, he just like chickens out in the middle of the booth.
Right.
He was a character.
Now, when you, actually, Kamala went babyface, and you had a chance to work him. Memories of those bouts working with him?
I enjoyed working with him. He used to leapfrog, and yeah, I remember that. I used to whip him with the whip, and then all of a sudden he turned to me. He got upset at me, and then all of a sudden I started working with him. But I really have nothing against James, to be honest with you. I made a lot of money with him.
Definitely did. Who came up with the Brooklyn Brawler character, and what is your reaction when it pitched? When it's pitched to you?
I think Bobby Heenan was influential in the Brooklyn Brawler because I think he came up with the name, and then he did. What it was Bobby Heenan was managing Haku and Rude and Kurt Hennig, whoever he was managing. He had Terry Taylor, who was the Red Rooster, and then Terry Taylor had nobody to work with, so they had to create somebody for Bobby Heenan so that Terry Taylor could keep busy, and Bobby Heenan chose me.
Going into that angle, memories of the angle, and what were you told about that storyline going into it?
When I became the Brooklyn Brawler, I was told that you're going to be this really tough guy from Brooklyn. I says, and you're gonna come into the set where they did Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby and Terry. They were doing like a talk show, primetime wrestling. And I remember saying, I don't want to hit him with the stool. The stool is cushioned, and it looks like shit when you do it. I said, let me use this billy club. They said no. It was like a plastic billy club. I said no. They said no. Use the stool. And when I look at that video to this day, I say to myself, I was right. I shouldn't have used the stool. I should have used the billy club. And then I felt like I was getting like bad heat, like putting Monsoon in the hospital. But it was fun days. It was fun.
Was there any promises made to you around this period of time when you're starting to get a big push and working with Terry Taylor?
There's never promises. You can't. Vince will never come up to you and say, "I'm going to make you a big star." The people make you a star.
What was it like working with Terry Taylor?
Terry was okay if he was going over. If he was doing the job, he was a little bit
sour-faced.
Yeah, a little sour-faced, and then he used to always go, "Well, Chief," I would say Chief because he was the main agent back then, Chief J. Strongbow, and he would say, "Well, Chief, I'll go over, but I refuse to get over." He was just like a comedy guy.
Now, do you think that Terry had a lot of heat on himself coming into the company because of his prior job with Mid-South?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I never heard nothing about Terry when he came in.
You got to work a little bit with Bobby Heenan, probably one of the best managers in the business.
I love Bobby.
What are your memories of Bobby?
Bobby was a funny guy, man. I just talked to him about a month ago too. He, for some strange reason, he comes up to me and he goes, "Let's go outside." We were in Hershey Park Arena, and he goes to me, "You see that mud over there? Go roll around in the mud." I said, "Bobby, what are you talking about? Roll around in the mud?" He goes, "You're gonna be a dirty kid from Brooklyn who just came out of the streets to wrestle." And I'll never forget. My mother used to get upset. She used to say to me, "Why do they portray you like that? Why your clothes are ripped? You're all dirty. You're making me look like a bad mother." I'm saying, "Ma, it's a gimmick."
Right.
I mean, she didn't understand back then. Because back then, people really believed it was real. They really did. It's like today we call it sports entertainment. Today we say, "Oh, we worked an angle." Like, I mean, that's the way it is.
What do you think what made Bobby tick as a performer?
Bobby had the gift of gab. Bobby was like showbiz, you know what I mean? He was like Bob Hope. He was like, he was the king of the one-liners. And he had perfect timing with it. He worked great with Gorilla.
And he never finished high school either. He was pretty much self-educated.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Oh. What advice did he offer you as a performer? Did he ever take you under the wing and teach you different things that he learned?
Yeah. Had to drink with Andre the Giant. And when I go in the bathroom, Andre the Giant, I'm drinking rum and Coke, and Andre tells the bartender to put 151 in all his drinks. You know what he taught me? When he shares a room with me and he plays that rib on me, I'm going to get up and piss on him.
Right.
Because that's what I did. I got up so drunk that I peed on Bobby.
What did he say? I heard the story.
He was so drunk he didn't know the difference. He woke up in the morning. He goes, I think I pissed the bed. I said, Bobby, you didn't piss the bed. I got up because I remembered later on that I did it.
Right.
I did it twice. I did it once to Lanny Poffo in New Zealand. I got up. I was sharing a room with him, and I pissed in his bag. Those are the days when you ever get filthy drunk like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where you like stumble and then you don't know where the bathroom is and you just piss in the corner of the room.
Right. If you could have a choice of being managed by any other roster of great managers over the years in WWF, who would you have wanted to work with?
Who would I want as a manager?
Yeah, if it wasn't Bobby.
If it wasn't Bobby, Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman?
I love Paul Heyman. I think he's the greatest manager. No, advocate. Don't say manager, advocate.
Right.
Paul's great.
Do you remember Paul from back in the day, going into the locker room as a kid, or no? You weren't even. Yeah, you were.
Yeah. Paul's a few years older than me,
Yeah.
but Paul's got like a sixth sense about wrestling. I always said to Paul, I said, Paul, my only regret is that I didn't come to ECW. He goes, no, don't ever say that because you got longevity. I says, yeah, but if I came to you, you might have developed me in a different way, and I might have came in. I might have been used better with the longevity. He goes, don't ever say that because no one's ever broken my record, and no one ever will. You think anybody's gonna ever be in WWE for 32 years?
No way.
Never happened. Never
Just
happened.
Howard.
Yeah, but it's
And he didn't have to
different.
take a bump.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. Oh. No, you're definitely right. Now at WrestleMania, it turned into Bobby Heenan versus Terry Taylor, and not yourself.
WrestleMania 3, Trump Plaza in Atlantic City.
I think it was
five.
Yeah, five. Were you let down about that?
Why would I be let down?
You didn't care that?
No, it renewed the whole angle.
Okay.
Because Bobby wrestled him, Bobby got beat like in 3 minutes, and I beat the shit out of Terry Taylor, left him laying, and then I ran out of the ring, and then Terry Taylor threw my hat to the audience, and then I did a promo in the back, and then Vince goes, what happened to your hat? I said, oh, I don't know, I must have lost it. He goes, no, you're covering for Terry. Seen it on the air. I said, well, I'm not a stooge.
Wow.
I'm not a stooge.
Huh.
I think he respected that more.
Yeah, definitely. Were you let down when you went back to just working prelim matches after that storyline, or was it more important for you to get a big push or to have regular work for a long period of time?
I think it was more important to have regular work for a long period of time, and having the push and then going back to preliminary, you still have that street credit for having done that.
Now, I believe it was WrestleMania 6. You worked dark match. It was the Sky Dome against Paul Roma. Memories of working?
Was that 6?
Yeah.
You mean the Silver Dome?
Wasn't it the Sky Dome?
No, the one in Detroit.
I believe so. Yeah.
That was WrestleMania 3. That's when Hogan slammed Andre.
No, that was 3. But didn't you work WrestleMania 6?
I don't remember. I worked a lot of dark.
It was 1990. But in the summer of 1990, Shane Douglas comes into the company, and he worked underneath role in WWF, including a dark match at SummerSlam 90 against you, before departing the company. Memories of wrestling Shane, and why do you think he never clicked with the WWF during either of his runs?
I don't have too many memories of Shane. I was just talking to him like a week ago, and he's I don't know. He's still got that ECW thing in him, like because we were doing a convention, and then this guy comes in the ring. And he goes, "ECW is dead." You know, like they have a wrestling match there. He stands up like real proud. I said, "What are you gonna do? You gonna run in the ring?" You know what I mean?
Right.
Something about ECW guys that I respect.
Yes.
I don't know what it is. It's. You ever watch that movie Vision Quest?
Yes.
To me, tomorrow is a Vision Quest. I'm gonna tweet that out. I'm going to put Wrestling Tomorrow on House of Hardcore is my Vision Quest, because I've never been in that order. That's the one place I've never wrestled.
That's crazy.
That's why I got to make an impact. I want to make it. I'm going to make an impact.
You'll definitely make an impact tomorrow. Definitely.
I got to.
Memories of going to Japan, working for Tenaru, SWS.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I worked in Japan like 4 times. Always been at SWS. I worked with Tenryu. Had a great match with Tenryu. Got to work with the top guy there, Tenryu.
Yeah.
And they're popping. They're going crazy. This and that. Tenryu comes all the way to New York. Tenryu comes to New York. They say, "Oh, Brawler worked with Tenryu in Japan, so they know each other." This and that. Tenryu, he didn't, he's broken English and all this shit. Same as Japan. Same. Yes.
Less stiff.
But. Boring, because he wasn't in Japan. They were tearing the house down.
Right.
In New York, boring.
Fans aren't.
They didn't know him.
Yeah.
They didn't know him.
You also got to team up with Rick Martel in Japan. Memories teaming with Rick.
Oh my God. Yeah. Me and Rick Martel against Haku and his partner, and I love Haku. He's a great guy, one of the toughest guys ever in the business. He goes to me, walk up to me, give me 2 stiff chops right in the chest. He goes, "I give you 1 chop, you take a bump." Sounds easy. gives me two. I give him 2 chops, pop him really good in his chest. 1, 2, and he used to do that thing with his hands where he used to go like this, and he like
yeah.
and then he did this. He goes for a chop right to my temple and knocks me out, knocked out cold. And Rick Martel's on the apron. He sees I'm knocked out. But when you're knocked out, it feels like 2 hours pass, but like 2 seconds pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Memories of feuding with Big Bully Busick over who the true bully was in WWF.
I don't know. It made me look pretty good, man. I wound up chasing him all the way back to the dressing room, and he wound up leaving.
You sort of turned babyface at the end of the run. Was that a planned thing to test you and see how you would work in at that role, or
no? They just did things. They didn't. I don't think they had plans.
Memories of Ric Flair coming into the company.
Ric Flair was always a classy guy. You know, Ric Flair would always be the one that would come in a bar and say, "Everything's on me." You know what I mean? Flair's just he's a great guy. You should have seen him the other day in Charlotte. I was in a convention. He walks into the convention. It was like the president of the United States is walking into the convention. You know, and he's strutting in.
Right.
But this guy could have made like $5,000 in pitches like in 2 minutes.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's unreal.
Memories of the launch of Monday Night Raw, and how did that change the company?
Oh my God, the launch of Monday Night Raw, was that in the Manhattan Center?
Yeah, Manhattan Center.
I think I wrestled in the first Monday Night Raw. I think I was very nervous about it because it was live and everybody was worried. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I might have wrestled Tatanka on that. I'm pretty sure. It was exciting, but yet nerve-wracking, thinking like, we're not used to this. You know, if we screw something up, you always have to edit it out.
Right, this is live now.
No more editing.
A lot of pressure on you?
Yeah, pressure not to make a mistake.
All right. Where did the MVP character come from? Was that something, obviously you said you pitched it.
Damien Demento, remember him?
Yes.
Damien Demento was a pretty good artist. And I remember that movie, The Warrior?
Yep.
Warriors. And they had the baseball players. And I always had this in my head. And I said, Damien, I gave him a napkin. I said, draw me a picture of a face with a baseball thing on it. That's all it was on a napkin. And he did it really good too. He did it real. So I go in, I knock on Vince's door. I go in there. I say, Vince, look at this. And he looks at it. He goes, these glasses come to the nose. He's looking and he goes, and I know the magic words. It's never been done before. When you tell him that, he's fucking his things start bubbling.
Right.
Never been done. Well, goddamn, we're gonna do it. But he did it. We shot vignettes. We did everything. And then one day he says to me, I don't think we're going to go with it. Too much face paint. We got Doink, we got Goldust, we got you. I said, well, get rid of Doink. You know what I mean? Just jokingly. I was always jokey like that with him.
Right. Going back to that, did you have a lot of freedom with that character?
I loved it because I could do like sign language, and I could do a baseball punch, and I could do like a double axe handle. It was fun.
Right.
I don't know if it was not too over the top.
Why was the character name changed to Abe Knuckleball?
Because Vince says that we could be sued by the baseball commission, but then I seen MVP come in.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Come on. I said, Vince, why can't we call him MVP? Mervyn Vern Peterson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, we don't want no trouble with the Major League Baseball, you know. So, and there might have been a rib to Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Was it true the character was put on hold because Matt Bourne was let go as Doink, and I guess they needed somebody to play Doink beyond Steve Keirn? Was that around the same period of time?
Matt, this is exactly what happened with the Doink with me. My phone rings at home, and Vince goes, Steve, Vince. Oh boy, I know something's gonna happen now.
Right.
You know what I mean? He goes, I need you to be Doink the Clown. I says, okay. He goes, I need you to fly to Calgary today and wrestle Brett in the main event in Calgary as Doink, because Doink was the top heel right then. I said, Vince, I have no problem wrestling Brett. I have no problem flying to Calgary. The paint job, I'm not going to be able to do. He goes, well, I want you to fly from Detroit to Cleveland. I think that's where Matt was living. His wife will meet you at the airport. She's going to give you the outfit. You fly to Connecticut. We'll have you picked up. We're going to take you to the studio. The girl's going to teach you how to do it. Then we're going to fly you straight to Calgary. And we actually did it.
That's crazy day of travel.
But it was the weirdest thing in the world because, you know, I'm wrestling as a Brooklyn Brawler, okay, you know, so heat, and then all of a sudden I come out as the clown, and it's like, oh my God, I could feel the power of the
push.
The power of the
character.
push. Yeah.
Favorite memories of playing Doink on the road?
Favorite memory of Doink would probably be wrestling Brett in Calgary.
Brett. In '93, you had a little run in Memphis as Doink. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember that. I was a little pissed off at that. I was in Europe and I was wrestling as Doink with X-Pac, And I always had great matches with him. I love working with him. He was one of my favorite opponents. And I'm wrestling as Doink, and then they tell me, you're going to go straight from Europe, you're going to go to Memphis. But I'm not stupid. I knew Bam Bam Bigelow had a friend, and I forget his name. Not Ray Apollo. I forget his name, but Bam Bam asked for his friend to be the new Doink.
Oh, okay. No, I was gonna say Ray Apollo, but
no.
Okay.
No, there's another name. If you said it, I'd know it. But what they did was they kept me out of the way while they debuted the new Doink, because Jeff Jarrett and Lawler came to while I was still in Memphis and said, "Hey, we got a new Doink there. You're really great." They were riding me with it.
Right.
So it was.
Memories of teaming with Brian Christopher in Memphis and wrestling Jeff Jarrett and Tony Falk.
I loved working with Brian Christopher. He was a talented worker. He had it all. But now I just seen him the other day. He told me he's got a knee replacement and all this kind of stuff.
Back in '92, '93, he was probably one of
if Brian had his head together, and if he didn't have any demons, he would have been great.
Awesome on the mic, incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Memphis. Talk about Jerry Lawler. Memories of working with Jerry.
I love Jerry. I just worked with Jerry like 2 or 3 months ago. Worked in a baseball stadium upstate New York, and they were cheering me and they were booing him. Only because we were in New York. But he's a pleasure to work with.
Easy.
But I'm saying to myself, oh my God! I was in Montreal when he took that heart attack. I was saying, I'm watching him. They had to give him the shockers 9 times. I said, if he dies in the ring with me, I'm going to be the guy that killed him. And then he wants to do a push spot,
right?
And I'm pushing him on the side of his shoulders here. I'm trying not to
touch his chest.
Yeah, I don't want to be the one to defib his chest, because if you ask him to this day what caused it, he'll say it's because Ziggler dropped 7 elbows on my chest in a row, which might have, I don't know. I said, then why did you need a stent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't believe that.
Any idea why Ray Apollo was hired to play Doink full time as opposed to yourself or even Steve Kern?
It wasn't Ray Apollo. It was another name. Yeah, you don't want to mess that up.
Yeah, I don't remember. All right, I can edit that out. Memories of finally making your pay-per-view debut under a mask as one of the knights for Bret Hart's team, for Shawn Michaels' team. I believe it was '93 Survivor Series.
Yeah, I was on Shawn Michaels' team, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Gaylord, remember him?
No, I remember Jeff. You were on Bret's team, I think.
Oh, was I on Bret's team? Yeah, Jeff Gaylord was doing the gig all in the house shows, and then when the pay-per-view came, they told Jeff to give me the suit, and he was pissed. You know what I mean? They just made the decision. And Jeff has passed too now. You know, do you know who he was? Yeah, he passed away.
I don't know.
He was in jail for bank robbery and this and that. Oh, he was a clusterfuck.
I remember he worked Memphis back in the day too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was an athlete, man.
Oh, yeah.
He had all the tools.
He looked like Brian Lee a little bit, big guy.
Remember that when Brian Lee did the Undertaker
gimmick?
That was like twins.
Thoughts on Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels as talents?
Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels on talents, just as great, completely opposite.
Who was right when it came down to the Montreal situation?